Hello everybody, the vote has been tallied and number 3 is the winner. So this will be the first piece of Mintabie that we cut for the channel. It's just a quick recap. It was probably, it was the biggest chunk. It's almost a square if you ignore this little section here. That's about a bit over an inch by a bit over an inch, like a 3 by 3 centimeter square. So it's quite large, and because of that, I might need to cut it into 2 videos because Mintabie Opal is probably the hardest opal there is out there. I wonder if I could actually measure it. I probably can measure it, so I might do that at some stage, but I'm pretty sure, having cut many different types of opal except for some of the international ones like Brazilian, that Mintabie Opal might actually be the hardest of the opals. If you actually tap 2 of them together, it's almost like porcelain sounding. It's very unusual stuff, but it's a lot of fun too, so we'll see how we go. This one's got a nice red bar that you can see on every side of this piece, but it is huge, so we'll see how we go. It does have a little bit of area over here where there's some green showing up, but I'm not overly interested in that. For the video, I'm just going to focus on the top. We might tackle the bottom at some later stage, but we just want to see what's behind here and whether we can get a nice stone out of it or not. We are going to dive in with the ultra coarse grits. So these are the 80 odd grit sintered diamond bits. We'll use this one here in particular because I like the shape of it. And we're just going to get through the top here and try to meet that color bar, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it faces. It's got a tendency not to face, so I'm always a little bit worried, but we're just going to get down there. It's a couple mils deep. It waves down a little bit here, so might have a bit of a divot in the middle. And yeah, we're just going to hope for the best. Otherwise, we do have a promising second area, if it comes to that. But there's only one way to find out, so let's spin up the Dremel. So this is what it looks like now. That really coarse 80 grit bit is so strong and so fast cutting. It got through that real quickly, and the sand, luckily enough, has cleared up a bit. I am a little bit worried that there is a crack starting to go through here, but apart from that, it's held up pretty well. It's such hard material that it also gets a little bit brittle, so around the edges it has been chipping quite a bit with that. I was using the bit pretty hard and fast, so it's caused a lot of fracturing. If we just pan down to here, I've got a little pile of bits. So if you are doing this and you're not doing it with a shield of any sort, you will have little glass shards flying at you if you try to cut it as quickly as what I did just before. So it's a little bit risky. Some of those little chips have a bit of colour in them actually, look at that. Right on the edges, there's a hair, that's good. But anyway, back to the actual opal. I'll give it a quick dunk in the water, and you can see that I've pulled up just after starting to show that the colour was coming through. I don't want to keep using the 80 grit into the colour because even though it doesn't chip much on the front surface, it does chip a lot on the edges. So I want to switch down to the lower grit diamond bit. I'll probably go with... I mean, I'm really starting to like the yellow, but it's probably a little too weak for now. I might kind of go for the reds here and use the cylindrical red. The reds are about 240 grit, so it's a little bit coarser, but nowhere near as coarse as the 80. But you can see that there's some nice colour and it's facing fairly well. We're just starting to touch the surface of it now. It's a little bit deeper in that little divot here. I'm not entirely sure what's going on over in this dark corner. There's a little bit of colour coming through, but not a lot. It might turn out that this area here is a little bit muddy and the lack of clarity might bring that part down. Over here we're starting to get something, but not a lot. You can see how coarse that grit is. It's really roughed up the surface. But yeah, basically across the entire face we are getting some pockets of colour coming up. We're not all the way down onto the colour bar yet. We've pulled up a little way away and there's an underlying red down there, so we'll see if this comes up. But there are some nice areas here. So yeah, we're going to switch to a higher grit and we're just going to scrub it back a little bit further and see what we've got. And then we'll have to decide where we're going to get some stones from. Because I don't think it'll... it depends on what happens just over here, but I don't think we'll get one massive stone out of it. Even though there's a little hint of some colour coming through here, I'm not sure about that dark patch. It's looking a little bit sinister to me, so we'll see how we go. But time to get back to the cutting. And we're back. There's a chicken laying an egg outside, so hopefully we can just smash this out and we won't hear it too much. So here it is. I've rubbed it back with a higher grit diamond, and you can see here, maybe I'll go in a little bit further. You can see here that there's a crack that runs along here. It also dives off here, and this top piece up here is also cracked. This is the most significant crack, so it's cracked, and it's basically going to take off that top edge, which I needed to do anyway, so I'm not upset about that. I thought I could just pop it off there, but take that off, and I'm going to have to cut along this line anyway. So we'll get a square over here, and then we'll get 3 pieces here pretty much. Though, the issue with this one is, actually I'll leave it in the water. So you can see here, it's got a little bit of colour, but this is just classic Mintabie. It's just not facing all that great. It's a bit weak, in essence. So that top corner's got a bit of the red in it. This brown patch over here, I've been digging around in it, and there's not really a lot to see, so that's kind of useless as well. So really, I'd say we've probably got a good stone just out of this section here. It might even have to cut down here because there's this brown patch here that's not doing very good things. So just here, there might be a little oval. And then over here, once we cut out that crack, we might get another little oval here. They're not going to match or anything, they're quite different patterns. And then over here, we've got a bit of the red that we can play with, but the crack runs straight through here, so a little bit, maybe a little stone and a little stone. 2 reds on this brown muddy colour. It's not a very appealing colour, this base. So I would have much rathered it was a grey or a black, of course. But this brown is a little bit annoying. So yeah, we're going to leave the stone here. It's a bit unfortunate. It's not the worst winning vote that we've ever had, so I'm not too upset about it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive straight into the next one, which is actually this one here. So this got runner-up, which makes me a little scared, but the runner-ups have always worked out. Oh, just throw them in the water. The runner-ups have always worked out so far, so maybe this one will actually clear up in sand. The first one cleared up in sand though, so I'm not sure if we've broken the curse or whether the curse carries on. And we get a nice stone out of this, because it's vibrant. It's not like this other piece, it's clearly vibrant. It's just whether or not the sand clears up. So that is going to be our next piece. Unfortunate about the first one, but it's pretty expected with Mintabie. This is kind of, it's a pretty common disappointment where you just don't quite get the opal to say hi once you've carved back down into the colour bar. Sometimes it looks a lot better from the edge than it does from the face. But that's how it goes. That's why I don't really advise Mintabie for beginners. You can have a huge expectation looking at the sidebar, and then you just get in there and you've got colour, but you're not really getting that colour fully out. I mean, I've just got this boulder sitting here. I didn't even need to wet it because it's already had a polish on the surface. But you can see what I mean, like the colour is just not, it just doesn't stand out like it does on other opals sometimes. It's just that milky hue, and the milk just doesn't clear up. What you've got to be careful of as a beginner is to keep trying to dig through. At some point you've just got to see that you are in that colour bar. This is as good as it's going to get basically. And you can still polish it and get a nice stone out of it. It's just not going to be a epic gem or anything. And you can't keep digging and trying to hope that the colour just comes shining through all of a sudden. It's just a really dilute colour. But having said that, once polished, that little section there is going to come up with a really nice green-yellow stone. So, and yellow is not something I see a lot other than in Mintabie, so it's actually a little bit rare and fun to look at. It's a little bit different. So yeah, unfortunate, but we're just going to move straight on to the next one. We'll smash through some of this Mintabie. Number 1 was the runner-up, so he's coming up next. And then I might do the other 2 as well, because all 4 of them were promising. So yeah, stay tuned and we'll have hopefully a better, shinier piece come up next.